Hi and welcome to the FreeFormKnits YouTube channel. I'm Haxton Evers, an Indian crochet who's freeform ways of crafting blood to the world of design. All the places you can find me will be listed down below this video. Thank you so much for stopping by and crafting with me today. So the date is the 5th, I believe. It's a Saturday. I don't remember. It'll be on the screen, the date. And I actually don't have a lot to talk about this week. I'm kind of in a weird spot with my crafting stuff this week. It's been not a good week, just life-wise, but I have a lot of plans for projects that I want to cast on, but kind of have the slightly unrealistic goal of wanting to get everything off my needles. And the reason it's not unrealistic in the sense that I can't do it, it's that I kind of don't want to, but we'll get into all that. Let's start off with I do have one, technically 3, but really we'll say 1 finished object. So let's get into that. The first finished object I have to share with you is a pair of socks. I don't believe they were casted on last week, but they are another pair of worsted weight toe-up socks. I knit these using worsted weight yarn. I love this yarn in this, I think, bright blue. I don't remember the colorway name. On US 8 needles, which is a 5mm needle, and I knit it toe up. I just did a regular long tail cast on, and then seamed it closed afterward. I did a whip stitch on the wrong side to seam it closed at the toe, and then I just did a short row heel. My heels actually look a little funny. I did them one repeat too long, so they're a bit, once you wear them they're actually fine, they just look very, very deep. I don't know why. I messed up. I was supposed to leave, I think I left 4 stitches instead of what I used for my other pair. I left 6 stitches. I wrap and turned down to, how do you say that? You didn't decrease, you wrap and turned short rows. I don't know the terms. Words are out of my head today. But that's what I did for the heel and toe. And then the pattern, I just did a blueberry waffle stitch pattern on the front of the sock and then for the leg. So that's that finished object. I just kind of cast them on and knit them really quickly because I wanted to knit on something, but like I said, my crafting has kind of been, I want to do something, but I wasn't sure what it was, what I wanted to do. Now I'm kind of back on track, but I have this other pair of socks, so that's good. And then the other finished objects are really, they're just 2 dishcloths. I had some scraps of dishcloth cotton lying around, so while I was trying to decide what I wanted to do, I felt disheartened with my crafts. That's what I did, because I have a work in progress that it's a whole story behind it with it. So that disheartened me, how that whip is turning out. So that's why I kind of casted on the socks and dug out some dishcloth cotton and just did some double crochets just to kind of get away from that project. There's this one. I just used up all these scraps, and then to use up the last bit of scrap I did a border around it. And then this one I ended up sewing closed because it was an awkward width with its length, so it's just kind of like a double-sided scrubby. So just really basically swatches, nothing really exciting. That's why I'm not really sure if I'm counting them as a finished object here. And then I suppose in the realms of finished objects, I can count these as finished objects. I've kind of gotten on a sewing kick, and I have sewn these 3 bags, and I am really happy with them. So this was a bright spot in my week. So I had a yarn haul posted on my channel, I think last week, where I bought some fat quarters from Hobby Lobby, and these are the fabrics from those fat quarters. So the first one I sewed was this bag, but I'll show this more when I talk about the whip inside here. So I sewed that zipper pouch and then these 2 drawstring pouches, and I am obsessed with putting a drawstring in like this. So for a long time I was sewing, when I did drawstrings, I just did like the channel like you have a separate piece of fabric and you sew the channel in it and then put the drawstring through that, but this is actually the drawstring. When you cinch the bag closed, it creates this fold up top, and I don't know, I love it. I'm really happy with how it turned out. And this one, I made it down really far, but you can kind of see the sewing, the stitching. My stitching is not that great. I have a problem with going in a straight line. This one's a little bit better. This was my first attempt. And my stitching's a little bit messy, but I love how they turned out. And I have these ribbons, got these arrow prints on them. This one's red. So they're box bottom. I've got this nice square bottom, and I've gotten better at my corners. So like this one, not so much, but I came up with a way of doing them that they're almost perfect every time. So you can see that one's perfect. And I have another bag I'm sewing. It's not completed yet, so I didn't bring it, but I have its bottoms perfect too. I've gotten so much better at that, and I'm really happy about that. And the inside of this one is this blue and orange, and the outside is this pink. Very spring themed fat quarters, I'm realizing when I open the package, but I do love them. They're such bright, happy bags, and they're loads better than the ones I made when I first started learning to sew. So I love how they look when they're like folded. And like the bottom is folded down and they're just like this. I don't know, I love how they look. It's such a nice aesthetic. So that's that finished object, I guess. You can count it as a finished object. And then the last bag is this one, this little zipper pouch, and it's got a handle. This handle is actually a measuring tape, which I think is really cool. I did put it down lower than I intended. This was the first one I made, and I haven't sewn. This might be the first sewing projects I've done this year. I don't recall. But I fixed up my where I have all my crafts, and I made a station where my sewing machine will sit always, so I don't have to like take it out and hook it up and all that stuff. When I want to sew, I can just sit down and sew, and that's why these bags are here, why I've made them. So this, I really love this fabric, this little fox, and then the inside is this orange, and it's so pretty. So I'm really happy with the size of this bag. I did intend for it to be bigger, but it turned out being this size, and I'm really happy with it. It's the perfect little sock bag. This corner is actually really good with the zipper. I've gotten better at installing zippers. This side not so good, but I know what I did wrong. I'm just really surprised at myself how much better I am at sewing than I think I am in my head. Like, I'm not really good. There are a lot of amazing bag makers out there who are so good at sewing, and I love seeing their project bags, but I'm decent. I'm getting better, so it's fun. Okay, now we've moved on to whips, and we'll talk about the whip in this bag. It is this sock project here. This was a I had part of one done last week, I believe, so I've completed one sock. And here it is. This is a sock pattern, the third and final sock pattern for the garter stitch sock collection I am designing, and it is all done the first sock. This is going to be called the kick strip sock because it's got these little triangles that kind of make me think of like the, you know, when you kick your foot, they look like you know, like the top of your foot. I don't know, that's where the name came from. And it's so much fun to work. It's got my hat trick toe and my shortcut heel. And I am just about to start the heel for the second one. I love it so much. It's such a fun pattern. It goes so fast. The yarn I'm using is Color Ideal Magenta, and all the sock patterns in this collection will be designed out of this yarn. But I just found out, and I'm so upset about this. Apparently, I thought this brand of yarn was new to Hobby Lobby, the Yarn Bee line. This one, Yarn Bee color ideal. Apparently it's not, and not only that, it's being discontinued. It has been discontinued from what I've seen on Ravelry, from what I've seen. Like, it's not at Hobby Lobby anymore. I thought it was a new line. Apparently it's not, and apparently it's being discontinued. And I'm so upset because it was affordable. It was easy to get for me. It's such a good blend. It's 50% merino wool, 30% nylon, 20% acrylic, but they've discontinued it. And I think they've discontinued it specifically to push their authentic hand-dyed line of yarns. That's a line the Yarn Bee brand has that I don't particularly care for, because it's not only more expensive than this was, it's also been known for its colorways are pretty much almost all of, no, I don't want to say almost all of them. It's been known to copy indie dyers colorways, and that doesn't sit right with me. I shop at Hobby Lobby because it's yarn that is accessible to me. I can get it easily, but some of their lines have not sat well with me, and that's one of them. I don't want to buy those yarns because they're expensive, and if I'm going to spend that money on a skein of yarn, I would actually want to support an indie dyer. But I'm very sad that this one is not available in it anymore because, like I said, it was cheaper than that one. And this is really the only other sock yarn that they have. It's a good sock yarn besides that other line that they are pushing. I think that line is a blend of acrylic, of nylon, and I think that line is supposed to be a sock yarn line, and that's why they've switched this out for that line, but I don't know. That's just speculation on my part. But yeah, disappointed that this line is apparently not available at Hobby Lobby anymore, so I don't know. I am trying to put together a Knitpicks order to get some good sock yarn, because without this I have no sock yarn. I have very little left, so I'll figure it out. Okay, that is that work in progress, and for the next work in progress, I guess we'll talk about the tale of woe. That's right, we have a tale of woe. You'll recognize this bag. It's not really a tale of woe, it's my tale of woe. It's not a tale of woe about the pattern or the yarn. It's me, it's on me. Because once again, I started a project without stopping to think about it. And that's how I always end up here. I start a project without thinking about it. You might recognize the yarn. You might recognize the bag. It's my cropped Mosaic sweater. You see, it's not much farther than last week's. I've just introduced the second color. And okay, let's start at the beginning. I modified the pattern, not because there was anything wrong with the pattern, just for how I'm shaped. I modified the pattern for the yoke so that the yoke wasn't as deep, because while I need the depth for getting all the increases for my bust measurement, I don't need it for my sleeves. I have very thin arms, so that's a problem I run into, you know, top-down raglan sweaters in general. I need to start out with more of my body stitches than my sleeve stitches, so that I don't end up with a lot of extra fabric under here. So that was the first thing. I also talked about how I think I messed up the neckline and I messed up the short rows in the back, but these were all things I was fine with. I could live with it. I wasn't upset about them, but they were the clues that this project wasn't going 100% right. So I had done the podcast last week, and I think over the weekend was when I was trying to psych myself up to work on it, because I just didn't want to pull it out. And the reason I didn't want to pull it out was because I love the gauge I'm getting. I do. I love I'm working this sweater on a 4mm hook. It feels nice working with it. It's a fun gauge to create, but I'm not sure wearing it that I like it. It's not that it feels stiff. I'm not even sure what I'm not sure about. It's really weird. I just am not in love with it. And I caught myself, because it's supposed to be a crop sweater, I caught myself going, okay, I can just start the color work now. Then I looked at the pattern again for the color work and realized it's really a strip of color work. For some reason, though I've looked at the pattern 100 times, I figured the color work section would be bigger. And then, I don't know, I'm hearing myself talk about it. It sounds stupid that it's because I just started this project. I started this project without thinking about it. So I started saying, well, okay, then I'll do 2 sections of color work. And this is my first time doing any type of crochet color work. I have never done any type of crochet color work beyond stripes before. And so here's the final thing. I understand the concept of mosaic crochet color work. You do one round with one color, then you do the other round with the other color. But this sweater is made, it's half double crochet done in between the posts. It's not done right into the stitch, it's done in between the posts. So you get this very smooth stitch, which I love this stitch. But as I was doing the color work, I started to wonder, like, here, where do I put my stitch? Which side of the post do I put it on? Does it matter what side of the post I put it on? Because I have a fear of accidentally increasing with this stitch. So it was just a lot of little things like that it made it not enjoyable to sit down and work on it. It made it so that I felt like I couldn't just sit down and work on it because I wanted to make sure it would turn out right. And then I started realizing, well, maybe I jumped the gun. Maybe I put the color work too soon because now it's going to be really cropped. And then I thought, well, what about the sleeves? And I don't know. And I came to the reluctant conclusion that I did not like the sweater anymore. Not that I don't like the sweater, I love the pattern picture, but I didn't like making it anymore. And if you watch the Bad Wolf Girl Knits podcast, Megan of that podcast, she always says, if it's not yes, it's no. And it's not yes. So therefore, it is no. So I will be frocking this. It's very sad. It's not sad. It's my fault. It's a disappointment in me because I broke my own rule. I just started working on something that I didn't stop to think about it. Didn't look over the pattern, didn't ask myself, well, there are a lot of new things in this pattern. Are you sure you want to do these new things? I just started it. And while I love the enthusiasm of myself, I shouldn't have just jumped the gun like that. So I will be taking this out. I haven't done it yet because I did want to show you. And I do think the pattern is not bad. It's not a bad pattern. I love the pattern. I would love that sweater. But I think I just need to do it a different way because it was just not the right time for me to make this sweater. So yeah, that's that. I will frog it and I will find something else to make with this yarn, and I will most likely revisit that sweater pattern a different time. Now that I've worked it like this, I can actually think about the things that will make it a sweater I will love, rather than just cast on without a care and then end up not upset, but just like, why did I do this? Why did I do this to myself? I laid a trap for myself. But that's the tale of woe. Not a tale of woe. I've learned something. I haven't learned something. I've reinforced what I already knew. Think before you start a big project, which incidentally enough brings us to another whip. Gosh, it's so bad. It's been, like I said earlier, it has not been a good week in other ways, and my crafting decided to keep with the theme of it not being a good week. So let's just talk about this whip. So I talked about at the beginning of this podcast that I have a lot of ideas of things I want to start, but I don't want to start them without clearing everything off my needles or my hooks. And that is a goal that is achievable. but it's whether or not I want to achieve it. And in talking about that sweater, I said that I sometimes start things without thinking about actually working on them, and that brings us to another whip. I shared a picture of this whip in, I think, two episodes back. And you might know this yarn. I bought this yarn originally for a sweater idea, which, again, didn't work out. Not because it didn't work, but because I didn't really want to do it. I started it and didn't want to do it. And so, for some reason, I look back at my thought process, I decided just to knit up this yarn as a blanket. Here's all the yarn in this various shades. It's gray, white, pink, gray, white, and pink. Gray, dark gray, white, and pink. I can count. And I started this garter stitch blanket. I've made garter stitch blankets like these in the past, and I love them. That's why I thought it'd be a good idea to make them. Just little lap blankets, very pretty. But for some reason, it's been idling. I talked about trying to work on this every morning. With the way the week has been going, I haven't been doing that. It's my own fault. But it's super pretty. It's just 100 stitches, I think, on a US 10, and I'm holding DK weight double. And it's making a nice fabric, and I will love it once it's finished. Just haven't worked on it. Who can say why? Why? Because I don't want to. And I need to, because having things sit around like this drives me crazy. I'm not someone who can have a bunch of whips and put it in a tie-mat pile and just not let it bother me. It bothers me. It bothers me to the point where I don't want to cast on other things without either finishing the things on my needles or frogging them. I don't want to frog this, so therefore I must finish it. And it won't take long to finish. It won't take long at all. I could get this done this week if I wanted to. Oh, not this week, because it's nearing the end of the week. But next week, by next week, this could be done if I wanted to. And I'm going to. Did that sound convincing? It's such a pretty color palette. I love this color palette. This is it's just beautiful. I love the pink, I love the gray, the dark gray, the white. I saw a sweater like this. That's why I bought this yarn. I saw a store-bought sweater with this color palette. I wanted to make that sweater, then did not want to make the sweater, frogged it, and started this blanket. I will love this blanket once it's done. And I'm probably going to, I'm probably going to fringe the entire blanket. I can see how it look in my head and it will look beautiful. I doubt my fringing capabilities, like whether or not I would put enough fringe around it all to make it fringe worthy, fringe-like. So I haven't woven in any of the ends in light of that, but I might just decide to weave in all the ends, which won't be too bad because it's garter stitch and bulky, and I don't know. I'll try and stick with my fringe idea. It shouldn't be too hard to add fringe all around the blanket, especially since it's like I can have all the white fringe, the pink fringe, the gray fringe. I don't know. I want to finish this. I'm trying to psych myself up right now. Maybe by the end of next week I can finish this. I'm hesitant to set a goal though. I should be more purposeful about the goals I set. I'm someone who sets high goals, and then as time goes from when I originally set those goals, I lower the bar. I can finish that blanket in a week. I can get half of it done by the end of the week. A quarter. Who needs to work on it? That's my thought process. That's what I do. I have to stop that. And it's just in this big old crochet bag that I made 2 years ago, 3 years ago. I have no idea. Time does not mean anything. I have another work in progress that, again, I started because this week was bad and I really felt the urge to crochet. That sweater wasn't going right. I needed to convince myself that I could still crochet. So I bought this self-striping yarn at Hobby Lobby a while ago. It was in my yarn haul. I bought 4 skeins total, 2 of this color and 2 of another color. This color is candied orange and the other color was crocus in focus. It's just 100%, right? It's 100% acrylic? Yes. Big old ball of yarn. And I made another granny strip blanket like this, so I decided to make another one, and it's going to be a gift for later in the year. This is the crocus in focus colorway. nice light oranges and this pink. It's really pretty. And then going into this like almost Halloween bright colors, and then I'll switch back to this one and then go back to this one, and that's how the blanket's gonna look. It's gonna be a gift for later in the year, and the recipient loves yellow and loves brightly colored things, so I think this is a good balance. It'll make a really fun blanket. So I measured my other, what's it called, the other granny stripe blanket I made, and I thought I made it the same width. It's a little bit smaller, even though I'm pretty sure I went up a hook size. Oh, this is not the hook I'm using. I'm using a 5.5 millimeter hook for this granny strip blanket. It's a little bit smaller than the other one I made, like I said, so I don't want to make it too long in light of it being slightly narrower, so I actually wound off the last stripe of the first skein just to kind of keep it pared down. But that's going well. So that's that whip, and this could be done super fast too. So that is all my whips. That's all the crafting I have to talk about this week. I definitely want to finish the sock I showed you, this one for the garter. Oh, I just whacked myself in the face with that. For the garter stitch collection, I definitely want to finish it because I want to work on the patterns and I want to get that all ready. I hope to have this out early next month, like really early, like the first week of next month. So that's why I want to finish this so I can really work at the patterns. I don't think I can have it by the, look at the first one. I don't know. I need to finish the sock. That's the step, and then I can think about the patterns and testing and everything. That's why. So I feel like I can't do any of that until I finish this sock, but I really could. I just haven't. My head's weird. I want to get that done. And I have so many things I want to cast on. So many. I have a different crochet sweater, a simpler one, and two I want to cast on. Actually I have two I want to cast on. One is a pattern, one's something I would be making up. And then I also have, it sounds strange, but a scarf I want to cast on. Actually two. Gosh. I have so many things. But I think I'm gonna say it here. I want to finish at least one of those blankets. At least one. I caught myself. I was gonna say which one. I think I will make an effort to work on the knitted one and have that done by next week. I'm gonna say it. Have the knitting done. I can get the fringe done. Okay, you know what? No more. I'm gonna get it done. I'm going to get that blanket done. I've decided it. That's it. Goal set. I realized, looking at my basket, I have one more thing to talk about. It's not a finished object, it's some design news. So if you've watched the podcast for a while, a couple episodes back now, that's another thing I want to say. Thank you so much for any returning viewers. It means so much that you watch my little podcast. It means so much for those of you who have subscribed. It's really cool to see that number go up, and I want to thank you so much for that. If you watched a previous episode, you'll know I made these little cup cozies, and I've actually designed a PDF document titled 5 Knit Stitches You Need to Know. So the things I love to design include simple textures, just as a way to, simple textures combined with vanilla knitting, so you can really watch your knitting grow. That's the idea behind these socks, and just something I've noticed as a theme running throughout all my designs. It's just what I love to create and the patterns I love to make. And so I designed this little booklet for anyone who, maybe you're a beginner knitter who's stuck in the same garter stitch, stockinette stitch cycle. I know I was stuck in that cycle for a really long time as a beginner knitter because I wasn't sure what stitches to learn. I saw all these beautiful stitch patterns but wasn't sure if I could do them, or you know, what I needed to know to be able to do them. And so that's the idea behind this booklet, 5 Knit Stitches You Need to Know. And in that booklet you will receive the written charted instructions for how to work both flat and in the round these 5 stitch patterns. So first there is seed stitch. I love seed stitch. I love all these stitch patterns. Moss stitch, basket weave. I love a good old basket weave. this eyelet row, which I'm kind of obsessed with, I'll be honest with you. Lace, I love lace knitting. I don't love knit-to-togethers and yarn overs, but having it in this row like this, really just, it's good. I have ideas for it. I love it. And a cable. So I have that PDF document is up for sale in my Ravelry shop, but you can actually download it for free by signing up for my newsletter down below. You will get a coupon code to get that booklet for free. The link will be in the description box below. You can download your copy of 5 Knit Stitches You Need to Know Today. Okay, I think that's everything I have to talk about this week. Thank you so much for stopping by and crafting with me today. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe so you can see all the videos I have on my channel. Yeah, that's everything. It's really hot in this room. I should have turned the fan on. Thank you so much for stopping by. Happy crafting!